So what I wanted to start with you guys with is this is a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche that I celebrate nonetheless. I want to know what your New Year's resolutions are. Now, I understand New Year's resolutions, kind of a trite cliche thing to do. Time is a man-made invention, but I personally always appreciate the opportunity for a reset button. I enjoy it. I celebrate it. So I'll start first, and I'll let you guys know what my New Year's resolution is, my main resolution, especially as it pertains to this show. And I'm going to read something to you guys, so bear with me. This is something that originally appeared on my Patreon. I posted this for my patrons, patreon.com/Ron Placone, if you are so able. But I wanted to share it with all of you because it pertains to this show, the future of this show, what 2019 holds, what I want to accomplish. So here it is. Starts with a quote. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. Timothy Snyder. When do we decide to give our internet over to an elite group of corporations, allow them to implement what is essentially an organized duopoly, and then charge us exorbitant prices for a mediocre product and a horrible company structure to boot? The answer to this mostly rhetorical question is slowly but surely. It happened one deregulation at a time, one merger at a time, one policy at a time, one administration at a time. And now, we no longer have net neutrality. Many people spend the end of the year reflecting on what needs to change in their lives, what's going right, what's going wrong, where they would like to make alterations. I'm among those people. While it may be cliche, I always enjoy an opportunity to hit a reset button, to check in, and to do a little bit of housekeeping. The Institute of Local Self-Reliance, an organization based in Minneapolis committed to, among other things, spreading municipal broadband across the country, released a year-end list of the different projects they had throughout the country. Despite my efforts, the town in which I reside, Pasadena, California, was not on that list. I consider this a personal failure. I also see failure as progress and as an opportunity. Nevertheless, it's a failure and a loss. While I'm a huge proponent of growing from a loss and setting it right, I'll never be a fan of putting a bow on a loss and trying to make it pretty. It's a loss. I guess that's the Pittsburgh in me showing. Throughout this year, I found by the way, I wrote this at the end of 2018, so when I say throughout this year, I should say throughout last year, I found myself spending way too much time in the mud pit that is electoral politics. A jousting of partisan hackery, which to me sounds like people taking the game between the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals seriously. It's a world I don't consider myself part of, though I do recognize the overlap that exists. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying electoral politics has no place whatsoever in my little creative quilt. It certainly has its place, and will continue to. But as far as Get Your News On with Ron is concerned, it will take a backseat to cause-based initiatives, in particular the one I've taken under my wing, Municipal Broadband. Municipal Broadband, in very short summary, takes internet access out of the hands of private corporations and into the hands of cities and municipalities. I plan to do everything in my power in 2019 to assure that, at the very least, Pasadena will not be absent on the Institute's list again. This involves showing up to City Hall meetings more often, which of course I will be filming and will have content in regards to. Helping to establish a local alliance, and covering more related stories and activity throughout the country on Get Your News On with Ron. There's more going on than I realize. Hell, I just found out yesterday that Oberlin, Ohio has an internet co-op open to residents. How did they pull that off? As of the recording of this, I don't know, but I'm going to find out live and on a stream. We're going to have someone from that organization on the show to break it down for us. so that we can do the same thing in our communities. So there will be a difference in Get Your News On with Ron. Not a huge groundbreaking one, but a difference nonetheless. In the back of my mind, of course, I'm wondering, how do I make this shit funny? But I'm not worried. That one fold, thus far, it always has. The future may hold more of an organized task force, a ballot initiative, possibly even a nonprofit. At the very least, it's going to be more of what I view to be positive and productive. A fellow comedian, Ted Alexandro, said something recently that really stuck with me. Check out his new special, by the way, Ted Alexandro. He said this in an interview. I'm used to my views not really being represented on the ballot. Nailed it. Why should I spend all of my energy picking a fabricated side when in reality the type of change I actually have some control over, and that which needs to happen anyway, begins in my own backyard? There were several things I was excited to vote for in the midterms. All were ballot initiatives that were there because of the tireless work of grassroots citizens' initiatives. None were candidates. Not that there weren't some great candidates out there, I just didn't live in their districts in any of the cases. Anyway, my point is, the change I need to make is obvious and exciting. I'll be seeing you all in the trenches, and while there will certainly be non-glamorous elements of all this, it will pale in comparison to the cesspool of tribalism and negativity that is hyper-partisan punditry. The peeks under the hood I've had on certain shows I'm no longer welcome on have done me the favor of showing me exactly what I don't want to become. So here's to 2019. Happy New Year. That in a nutshell is my resolution. And I'm curious to know what yours are. Marcia says, happy 2019. Policy over party, people over profit, planet over pillaging. Austin, well said, but I don't appreciate you being better at alliteration than I was, all right? I had one. You had to go and have three. I had one, hyper-partisan punditry. I was proud of it. Then you had to just one-up me in the chat, having three. Just kidding. That is very well said. I'll repeat it. Austin says, policy over party, people over profit, planet over pillaging. And he had to go one-up me on the alliteration. Let's see. Piss on those shows, says Sylvia. Patricia, what shows? Tim Flowbug, who blacklisted you? I'm referring to the Stephanie Miller show and the Nicole Sandler show, if you must know specifics. We need a Star Trek future. I agree. Little old Chattanooga, Tennessee has municipal broadband. Yes, they do. And you know who else? You know who else has municipal broadband? Oberlin, Ohio has a co-op, which I can't wait to learn about that. I grew up near Oberlin, Ohio. I grew up in western Pennsylvania. And so I know, you know, and I don't mean this to like diss on Oberlin, Ohio. I don't mean this as in an insulting way at all. This is complimentary, actually. But I'm just saying, if Oberlin, Ohio can do it, other cities can too. You can't use, oh, we can't afford it. Oh, we're too small. Like, look, Oberlin, Ohio is doing it. They're not some big, rich area. They're a hardworking, blue-collar city. And a small city to boot. They're doing it. It can be done. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Joseph says, I saw the mayor of Pasadena on TV yesterday. He was in the parade, and my first response was, that's the guy who ignored Ron's reasonable request that he stand up for net neutrality. He sure was. Our mayor is not the friendliest dude. He just, every time I showed up to a city hall, he just sort of grimaced at me. And everybody else. It's not like I was special. I don't know why that guy... I don't know who voted for that guy. Like, I really don't... And you know, I know I'm talking insider baseball here because I'm talking about my mayor, but he is just one of the most... I mean, usually if you're a politician, especially a local one, you're at least very good on camera, and you're smiling, you're like everybody's buddy when you're with them in person. This dude doesn't even try to hide his disdain for everybody around him. The fact that he hates sitting in city hall meetings. Like, he doesn't even try to hide it. But what are you going to do? Lee Carter gets a shout out. Lee Carter is a good guy, first of all. Second of all, Lee Carter is also pushing municipal broadband. I don't know if that's why you guys gave him a shout out, or if you just gave him a shout out because he's doing awesome work, because he is. But among that awesome work that he's doing, he's pushing for municipal broadband. I actually tweeted at Lee, and I said, Lee, me and you got to join our forces together, and we can call it Gingers for a Free and Open Internet. He never tweeted me back. I don't know why. I thought it was a damn good idea. I thought it was a great idea. But, Lee, Gingers for Muni. Now, what I need is something that starts with a G. Gingers for, what's something that starts with a G that goes along with municipal broadband? I have no freaking clue. Gingers for grids that have internet? That's not that good. Gingers for grinding out city-owned internet. There we go. Gingers at grinding out city-owned internet. GG COI. Gigquaya. Order Chaos nailed it. Gigabytes. Gingers for gigabytes. Dude. And dude wasn't directed at anybody. It was just an expressive me throwing it out there. Gingers for gigabytes. I love it. Yes. Gingers for gigabytes. Well, guys, show's over. We can't top that. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome. So, what are some of your guys' resolutions before we move on? I haven't seen much. Gingers for gigabytes. Well, so I gotta get Lee over to my team. I gotta get him to start helping out, which he's probably doing more than I am. But what are you gonna do? He has more power than me. Let's talk more action, says Stephanie. Bella wants to lose some weight. I released the clip on how I initially lost a lot of weight. I think that when you want to lose weight, you just kind of make some lifestyle changes and you take it from there. Developing a worker co-op to the point we can employ the founding members full-time. Chris, that's awesome. Some people are calling their reps today. That's awesome. Making Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister, says Patricia. Shout out to Manchester. I miss you, Manchester, very much. So much. A lot. Really miss it. Say hi to the Afflecks for me. Put broadband on the ballot. Leon, me too. That's what I'm fighting for too. Or, you know what? The thing is, internet co-ops are also an option. Maybe my thing isn't going to be a ballot initiative. Maybe Pasadena is going to have a citizen-owned internet co-op. Because we're going to have some stories today that's actually easier to do now. And that's going to be our first story coming up. Long Beach going to attack open mics with the tenacity of a young comedian. Doing stand-up or music? What are you going to be doing at those open mics? OG, Happy New Year. Thank you very much. Let's see. Daniel, my New Year's resolution is to start writing an album. Do it, Daniel. And we'll talk about it on Music Monday. And watch less news other than Ron. Aw, thank you. Well, I appreciate you keeping me part of the media diet. Thank you very much. Let's see. Funny music, says Long Beach. Cool, man. If any of it's political, we'll have you on a politics night. I've been wanting to have some music. How insane is it that we have to force society to put information technology in the hands of the public? Right! Exactly! How insane is it that we let this... Here's, in the thing I just read, I talk about, briefly about how we got to this point, and it was one deregulation at a time, one merger at a time, and I do think that the short answer, that's the case. But I also think part of it, as far as why do we put our internet access in the hands of a bunch of predatory corporations that don't give a hoot about any of us. Why did we do that? I think part of it, too, is none of us knew what the internet was going to become. And, you know, I'm saying this as a millennial. I am just old enough to remember the world pre-internet. Like, I remember a pre-internet world. And I also remember the internet as it developed. I remember a time where it was unheard of for a band to have a website. That changed real quick. I remember a time where only the biggest companies in the country had a website. That changed real quick. I remember a time where we sort of made a little bit of a dip and then back up, where basically everyone just had a MySpace and didn't worry about anything else. Those days have changed. Now most people have a website, even if that website is just a hub for all of their social media. So I think part of the reason we handed our access over to corporations is also because we didn't know what the internet was going to become. And I'll do one more shout out here. Statutory wants to start a band, and that band is going to be Death Meets Black Sabbath. And if you're referring to the Death out of Detroit, the first punk band, arguably the first punk band, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Us open source supporters have been on this since day one of the net. Well, shout out to you, Corey. And we're all still in the fight.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your